Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the YouTube streets. Welcome back to the X streets. If you're checking us out on X, appreciate you there. I'm Graham, joined tonight by Mark Garcia at Hilo FF and Thomas Tipple, as always, the boy, El Nostra Thomas, hanging out. We're going to be ripping a puppy draft, $5 draft tonight on Underdog. Shout out to the sponsors. Underdog has basically released a new contest like every day this week. It's great for the degenerates like us. We're going to be drafting all summer. You can keep it locked here Thursdays, every single night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll be here ripping drafts. This summer, it'll be Mark, Thomas, and I, and we'll bring in some guests. So excited to get going with this season, you guys. Let's get into a draft here. And I'm in the lobby.
Okay,
let's get there here and bring you in, Mark. How you doing, man? How's your week going? You ripping drafts?
Yeah, trying to as much as possible. It was a relatively busy week, so I was hammering it early. I ran through like 50 drafts in the first 3 or 4 days, and then I kind of had to enter slows and kind of chill for a minute. Some with work and stuff. Just got a little crazy, but.
Yeah, I feel you on that, man. I have been all fast so far. My ADHD brain cannot handle the slows just yet. So
yeah,
you want to do 8 slow drafts at once? And
no, the trick is you got to be like 40 or 50 at once. You get like I get way too. I just get too antsy unless I'm doing like bulk.
I can't keep track of my rostership as I'm going. Right, if I'm in that many, I forget how many of this stack to what.
You don't need to.
That's fair.
You don't need to. At least now, you don't need to. You don't need to worry about that stuff right now.
Yeah, we're not too worried about exposures just yet. Yeah. Especially the weight behind them and these $5 puppies. You know, this puppy's gonna fill. So if you do want to, if you want to max the puppy, man, you better get on it. You better get in some slows because it is gonna fill.
They go
pretty quick. We are live, boys. 30 seconds away. We drew the second pick. We got the first pick a couple weeks ago. We were filling out the war room, one of the last pre-NFL draft contests. We got the 2 pick here, so we're riding hot here. It'll be McCaffrey or Lamb at the top. We were going through projections earlier this week. Mark, just meeting. We're talking about Dallas, talking about how much they're going to throw, and it's like, they didn't draft any rookies. They cut Mike Gallup. I don't really know how much that matters, but Brandon Cooks is potentially dusty, and they might sign Zay Jones, but like CeeDee Lamb is just like locked in for 190 targets.
Yeah, dude.
Feels like this season. Oh, Lamb 101.
Okay, well, never mind. We don't get that.
Never mind. We'll take McCaffrey at 2. Get our anchor and draft some receivers.
I was doing that when I was running through projections, like looking at Dallas and like just looking at CeeDee Lamb's year last year. It was like near 30% targets per route run, target rate, red zone target rate, like across the board. The dude was just on fire. And now it's like, okay, they brought back Zeke and they don't really have much behind him and Rico. So it's like, are they just going to throw the ball? Like, what if their 59% pass rate jumps up 3%, even just 3%?
Well, it probably will. I think the way they're designed to run this offense, this is why I was buying Lamb, buying Dak last offseason. Everybody was like, oh, Mike McCarthy's going to go run heavy. They got Tony Pollard in there now. It's like, no, dude, this offense is built to go 3 receivers. And like Michael Gallup, unfortunately stunk. And they're not really going to have too much outside this year.
Tolbert, let's go.
Yeah, Jalen Tolbert late. They might sign Zay. But I really like Jake Ferguson late. I just keep moving him up my rankings too. But yeah, Lamb is just like locked in 101, man, at receiver for me. And then, I think from there, Tyreek, Chase, Jefferson, and St. Brown are just kind of one big tier. Mark, I want to ask you real quick, as Jahmyr Gibbs goes off the board ahead of Bijan and Brees, I was just about to ask you, where are you at on – that's a choice for sure.
Yeah.
Where are you at on Bijan and Brees vis-a-vis these receivers like, St. Brown and Jefferson? Do you have the backs ahead of those guys, or are you drafting a little more receiver heavy in your first? If you've got like the 6th pick, where are you going there?
So – without going into an hour, I could talk for about an hour on that one question. Without going that far in depth, it depends on the time of the draft season that I'm drafting. Right now, you can build rosters that you will not be able to build the rest of the draft season, and it depends on ADP movers. And because typically historically, and because we know the function of running backs, that the volume can change so quickly, those ADPs on running backs are going to have higher magnitude movements over the next 4 months than wide receivers. So I'm prioritizing wide receivers right now at the back end of the first round, and double tapping, doing these, like taking teams all the way to like the Jonathan Brooks, Zach Moss, like Austin
Let's
Eckler
go.
as the first running back on rosters.
Let's
Because
go.
if those guys jump to 5th round, you're not going to be able to build those rosters anymore come a month from now, come 6 weeks from now. So doing that now and just layering that into your portfolio, you can make up for drafting those back and round 1 running backs later.
I love it, and that's how I've been structuring a lot of my teams. It's not just what you kind of lined out. To me, it's also like this is the best year I've seen recently to draft running backs from round 7 through 12. It is there's going to be some major potholes through the road there, but I think we're going to hit some home runs in that pocket. Like you were saying, Jonathan Brooks's ADP is really come up. I actually have him at the top of that tier of backs in that pocket, like Najee Harris and DeAndre Swift. I got Brooks ahead of those guys, so I'm with you there. And just structurally speaking, I know we got CMC here, and CMC really is like the only guy at the top, basically, where you feel really good that he's going to get like an 85-90% snap share. Brees and Bijan could get there, obviously, but McCaffrey's floor and ceiling is just insane. From there, man, I think RB2 to RB10 is like really, really tight too, and that also makes me want to draft receivers early. The second round is really tricky this year, Thomas. Really tricky. Like, I feel really good about the first 12 picks, 13 picks, like in almost every draft, but like no one knows who to draft in the second round. We got Stephon Diggs here at 15. That's pretty high for him. But honestly, if you're stacking up CJ Stroud, maybe he's thinking he can get Stroud at like 39 or something.
It's 14 to 23. 14 to 23 makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The whole way.
Yeah.
Because after that, you get after those first 2 waves, you're like, okay, I can kind of parse out my bargain bins, but look at the people on the board. It's like Olave and Evans and Nico, Kyron, they all have flaws and problems, but they should be smash picks in this round. It's unsettling.
Well, speaking of that, we've got a choice here at the top: Adams or Evans.
Either. I've been mixing both here.
Yeah, Adams for me if it's a tiebreaker.
All right, we'll go.
I think he's still 150 target. Type guy.
Yeah, I mean, the Raiders were one of 6 teams to not draft a single wide receiver in this draft. So
careful, you're gonna trigger Brock Bowers fans though.
They're gonna run some 12 here, but I mean, it's Devontae Adams, it's Jacoby Myers. We'll probably talk about him a little bit later, but
coming back here, so it went Adams, Evans, Metcalf. Metcalf is a little bit different, but I don't mind that. So Nico versus DJ. I've got Nico, but
what are your thoughts on scrolling down to Cooper here? Cooper Kupp.
Ooh, I have him at the bottom of this tier here.
Yeah, I think I'm more into Michael Pittman over almost any of these guys.
No, well, we took Nico. We went from the top of the ranks. I'll let you go, Mark. Why were you on Kupp? We got Nico.
Yeah, my case for Cooper Kupp is very clearly still has. I mean, it's Sean McVay offense. We know that there's not a lot of moving pieces in that offense. They're looking like they're going to run back to Marcus Robinson as the wide receiver 3. And we're kind of just down on who was the wide receiver 1 all last draft window, right? It was like, well, it's between Tyreek and Cooper Kupp. But it's like, what has changed in that offense outside of now Cooper Kupp's hamstring is healthy? So to me, with the understanding that like we're trying to target ADP movers this early in the draft cycle, Cooper Kupp is a guy that I could see being steamed up for the rest of the draft cycle, and getting him now, like in the third, almost anywhere in the third round, and being able to build teams like Zero RB or Hero RB, kind of like we were talking about earlier, that will not ever be able to be built again in this draft cycle. It just gives you those unique combinations. So the second layer to that is like, if Cooper Kupp does move up, his ADP is going to more naturally align with the front picks. So like CMC's and the Tyreek Hills and the CD Lambs. So those, while you're not buying like uniqueness as far as early round pairings go. What matters is what's happening behind that. So layering those two like theoretical principles, I'm only doing that if I know like I'm drafting rosters where it's Jonathan Brooks is the first running back on the roster type thing. Rosters that you will not ever be able to be built again.
I'm with you on Cup. I was doing some Rams research today. I do like him, but I don't know about over Nico, and especially not over DJ Moore. You know, Cup does feel a little bit capped in terms of ceiling unless Puka gets hurt. Whereas like Nico and DJ Moore, you know, they're already probably the number one targets on their team. You know, I think Puka and Cup are relatively close, but Puka at the end of last season, at least by first read target share, was really starting to come ahead of Cup. And then, Nico and DJ Moore, they also have massive contingent upside. If Keenan Allen were to get hurt, like DJ Moore getting 8, 9, 10 targets a game, like sign me the hell up for that. Same thing with Nico. Like Stephon Diggs could be cooked, and Stroud and Nico's connection was phenomenal last year. I hear you on Cup, and I really like your point on the uniqueness of kind of getting weird, especially in these puppy drafts, man. We were, just talking a minute ago, like this thing's going to fill like probably by this time next week. So get weird, like feel free to get weird. Don't be a slave to ADP in these things. Like these are time box tournaments where uniqueness matters. And, I'm a little less concerned about fouling ADPs at this point in this as opposed to something like BBM. I think your point really stands there.
See, for me, it was Michael Pittman because this guy is still a target hog. His first 3 games with AR, he still went absolutely ballistic, 11, 12, and 11 targets. This guy is an absolute volume monster. Not concerned about AD Mitchell whatsoever. No. This is going to be a 3-horse team with Taylor, AR, and Pittman. And if you do manage to get that stack of AR at a little bit of a discount, I think you are absolutely hammering it, especially if you're avoiding running back altogether. It gives you that extra little bit between the two of them. Man, that's why I love it there. But I mean, him and Cup, hard not to project them somewhat similar to total targets, and let's see it.
Yeah, I mean, Pittman's floor is just insane in this offense.
Mm-hmm.
Just the massive target share. I'm a little concerned as we get cucked on CJ Stroud. I'm a little bit concerned on the pass rate. It should be a pretty run heavy offense with Richardson, but yeah, I mean, Pittman is just, I think he's a really, really solid 3rd round pick. That's for sure.
Go ahead.
No, I was just about to say, we got an interesting little board shape here.
Yeah. It's an interesting pocket here.
Yeah.
Can I make two calls for the next one? Come back around. You guys can. I'm very George Pickens here, actually.
Same. I love him for this team. What do you think, Mark? Or Cooper?
Chance to get both with the guy behind us having 3 wide receivers. So, yeah.
All right. We'll pull Pickens first. Yeah, I've been drafting George Pickens. Shout out to Coverboard George Pickens. We got the puppy on Pickens on the cover. Loved that. So
thank you.
Look at that. We got the branding down. We got the planning down. We knew it. It'd be interesting to see. So this guy's got, definitely took Pacheco, Lamb, Evans, Metcalf. Man, this is the style of team I've been drafting a ton of right here. 3 receivers, then Pacheco. Like, sign me the hell up for that. All right, we'll take Cooper here.
Yeah, that's too easy.
You know what? I was getting talked up today by a friend of mine on this George Pickens thing, and I was like, nah, bro. Nah, no, not at all. He kind of did pretty okay with Kenny P. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's something.
I got a lot to say about that situation, honestly.
Yeah.
Did a lot of digging. Deontay Johnson and George Pickens were in the top 24 against major coverage schemes. So if you haven't checked that out yet, again, go check out the work that I did for FantasyPoints, breaking down pass catchers against varying coverage schemes. But almost across the board, these guys were elite from an efficiency per target metric last season. And that was with atrocious quarterback play. I did this exercise for 1 week season yesterday on a podcast that was playing the what if game. And one of the what ifs that I called out was, what if Russell Wilson is not just absolute garbage? That's an interesting thought process to go through because it has that trickle down effect to the rest of the team. Where I'm kind of making my stand now on the Pittsburgh Steelers is with Roman Wilson, actually. This is a guy who was drafted in the 3rd round by an organization that we know has a long history of absolutely nailing wide receiver valuation coming out of the draft. I mean, it's akin to the same level of we've seen over the last 15 years from the Packers, right? Like these teams, these organizations are not investing heavily at wide receiver. I mean, the last 1st round wide receiver that the Pittsburgh Steelers took was Santonio Holmes. So like this team just keeps finding these players, though. I mean, Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson, they run them through their rookie contract and then they move on. That's just like what they do, right? So the fact that they took Roman Wilson in the 3rd, and the fact that the target competition behind those two, and I expect Roman Wilson to start the season as a 85% plus snap rate player. Okay. Behind them, it's like Van Jefferson. It's like it's no nothing. Yeah, so it's like those two and Pat Freiermuth. So being able to get Roman Wilson take a stand now, when on like a situation like he's 13th round, 14th round right now, on a situation for a rookie wide receiver who led the FBS in EPA per target in last season. So it was higher than Ladd McConkey. It was higher than all the other wide receivers that were drafted in the top 3 rounds. So that's impressive and that's notable. So all that kind of comes together to me. I'm actually not drafting a ton personally of George Pickens now because I don't feel like his ADP has a lot of steam to really get moved up, whereas Roman Wilson does most definitely. So that's kind of my stance on that situation right now. I totally get it, and I'll probably grab a good 12% of George Pickens this year. I'm just going to get it later.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I've been thinking about that with Pickens too. Like he's probably capped at like 41-ish ADP. Yeah. Like I don't think he's going to get into the 30s. There's just too many quarterbacks. There's too many good receivers in that back half of the 3rd round. So I'm with you to that extent. But I mean, for this team to get Pickens as your wide receiver 3 with Adams, Nico, and McCaffrey, like that was
and still safety netting Amari Cooper.
Yeah,
like on a week-to-week basis for Pickens, where the NFL. Yeah.
I love Evan Ingram in this spot.
Yes.
I've been spamming Evan Ingram in this spot here. I mean, 6th, 7th round turn. I've been taking Ingram a little earlier than ADP too. Just think he has such a strong floor.
So I've been loving this pocket for tight ends, especially on builds like we have, like a hero running back or a 0 running back, and double tapping tight end at.
Please give me Chris Godwin.
Yeah, if Godwin gets here, we're taking Godwin. Man.
Let's go.
All over Godwin. Dude, I've got him like 12 spots ahead of ADP. To close out last season, Godwin and Evans were very, very close by target share.
And he's going back to the slot, baby.
And if he goes back into the slot full time, now we're really cooking.
Yeah.
We're really cooking.
I think that's going to depend on Jalen McMillan. You think?
Yeah, well, I think McMillan's going to be on the outside, in my opinion, especially if you look at the Coach Speak Index and what they've been running for the Bucks.
Yeah,
and how they plan to use Godwin. I mean, I'm all the way in.
Yeah, Godwin's ADP is going to go. You want to talk about an ADP that has a chance to go through the roof here?
Yeah,
I think it's Godwin.
I buy that.
Yeah, Godwin, man, I got him at 66 overall. We took him at 74. Like I was saying, to close out last season, he and Evans were really close by target sharing. Obviously, Evans had the monster start of the year. I just don't think they really knew how to use Godwin. Like, all the design targets went away from Brady. They stopped throwing those screens to him, and it kind of felt like his role fell out of favor last year. And I think this year it's like I think Evans is clearly the one, and obviously he has more touchdown upside. But man, Godwin in round 7 just kind of feels like stealing right now.
Yeah, on a given week, man, and that's what you need on a given week.
Yeah, it is a 1-week season. I've been told it's a 1-week season.
Let's go.
Speaking of which, we'll be streaming next Thursday, right after the schedule release. Schedule is going to be released on Wednesday night. I was trying to bribe Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, so it's like leak the schedule a little early. It didn't work out.
We didn't have the funds.
Yeah, apparently. But new Underdog users. And shout out to Michigan getting Underdog.
Yeah,
That
that was
explains
big
Gibbs
today.
earlier.
Open today. Shout out
That
to
ex-
Brett Whitefield. Brett can now play. His life has changed. Brett's going to be hanging out with his kids and ripping drafts all summer. But you can get up to $250 matched on Underdog using code FANTASYPTS. Along with your deposit match, you'll get a $5 Fantasy Points subscription. That's a standard subscription. You're basically getting it, up to like $300 basically for free. With your deposit match, you get a standard subscription, usually $60 just for $5. Head to Underdog, make your first deposit, make an account, and use code FANTASYPTS, especially if you're in Michigan. Shout out Detroit. Get in some drafts this weekend and
Brett,
enjoy the spring.
We got a promo code for you, Brett. All right. We got a promo code for you and everyone in the hometown.
For you,
right, let's
and
go.
you and you.
For everybody.
There it is. Well, we've done 2 teams so far this year, boys. We've gotten McCaffrey anchor and then just a shit ton of receivers every single time. This is
as
like
the Lord
copy.
intended. Yeah.
Carbon copy of last draft. I love it though. I love it.
And so it was, and so it shall be.
Yeah. It's what it was meant to be. I was just looking through my rankings. I've got Roman Wilson 4 or 5 spots ahead ADP. I think I'm going to move him up after talking to you, Mark. It makes too much sense. I mean, he's got like this like Tyler Lockett kind of skill set, super versatile. Like you said, the Steelers have the receiver algorithm. Like wherever the Steelers draft a receiver, just bump them up a little bit.
Yeah,
I think that makes sense. And I've got some slack for sure where I can bump up Wilson. So I'm with you on that. It's just going to be a super condensed target tree, man. Like I don't know if Wilson and Fields are good, but like the ball's going to only go to those 2 guys. And Pat Fryermuth's hamstrings aren't exactly super strong. He's liable to miss some time too. So yeah, I really like that call right now. He's one of the few rookie receivers that haven't been absolutely steamed to death in the last 10 days since all these contests drafted.
I will note also that his odds to lead the rookie class in receiving yards this season is plus 3,500 right now. So that is a bet I am on for sure.
I might go take that when we get off here. I like that call, Mark. Our boy, just missed out on our boy Jonathan Brooks.
Zach Moss is a good fallback for me personally.
I
think he has higher room to grow.
I'm pro Trey Benson as well.
Well, we can maybe get Benson on the turn here. The guy behind us has 3 backs. Let me see real quick which ones he got. He's got Pacheco, Cook, and Jones.
Trust no one.
I'm good. I've got Warren ahead of Moss, but let's take Moss here. I'll defer to you on that one, Mark. We'll talk that out here in a second and see what he does here on the turn. I've got them very closely ranked. I think Warren's floor is really good, but I mean Moss's touchdown ceiling in this offense is amazing. If he's the goal line back, like he's such a smash pick here. And you want another pick, man, like 95. Like if we get positive Moss vibes like all summer and into training camp, like he should be probably going in the 7th round by that point. Warren versus Benson here. What do we think here?
Shoot your shot, man.
Yeah, I'm a Benson guy.
That's fine. I don't have a ton of him. The other option is Jalen Daniels. Here. That'd be the only other option is Jaden Daniels to me.
We've got Watson and Mayfield potentially lined up. Yeah. I'm gonna take Warren here. I absolutely love Jalen Warren here.
You don't let me take Connor because you think they're gonna draft somebody. And you love that upside. And then we get the guy that they drafted in which that you warned me about the week before the draft, and now we can't take Benson.
It's fair. No, you're rightfully shaming me. I just
prejudice.
Bro, what if Jalen Warren's the goal line back? Like what if he's Najee's role in this offense is just continue to trend down. We know this team's gonna run the ball. We've got him attached with Pickens too. I love doing these like little minis, getting a back and receiver together.
We're definitely
I love
going
this little correlation here.
17th round Russell Wilson on this.
Oh yeah.
I almost want to go Justin Fields, not Wilson.
Bruh.
Okay, so
Tom
Brawley talked me out of Fields this week. He made a really good point. He was like,
I'm anti-Fields.
Yeah, I think I'm anti-Fields now too. I actually flipped them in my ranks, and I have some Fields and Pickens together. It might work out. I don't know. Fields definitely has more upside, like no doubt. But Tom made a really good point this week, and he was basically saying, like, if the Steelers start hot, let's say they win 6 of their first 8 with Wilson, there's no chance they're going to Fields. Like, Tomlin's just going to keep
I know. I
mean,
if Justin Fields gets on the field for like a game or two, that guy's 27 points in Arthur Smith's wacko world of football. Like, I just want him for that week to 2. Be right. I think we have too many pieces. I think you might be right.
It's one of those things, man, where like I don't think Wilson's very good, but he's got a ton of experience. Tomlin already has said multiple times like he's their guy.
Yeah, he's like minus 900 to start the season as the starter right now.
Yeah,
on books. So I mean, yeah, it's like
it feels like one of those things. Like if Wilson hits and he's basically free on Steelers books this year in terms of cap space. Like if Wilson hits, great. If he doesn't, at least they have like a reasonably decent backup with upside as a runner. With Fields that would pair well, obviously. He's their project, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It just makes me sad.
I know.
It's just the upside play to Wilson too, right? Like what's his highest? Like 20 points, even with like 2 touchdowns. It's like
but like we have to consider like what that organization is. It's like Mike Tomlin just gets to 500 no matter what. Like
you're right.
And he is not
taxes and Mike Tomlin going 9-8 this year.
Exactly. And like he values protecting the football because I mean they have a somewhat declining defense, but their identity is very much still their defense, right? So if you have Justin Fields who is leading a 4th quarter drive and his MO is he just generates 4th quarter turnovers. He just does not know how to protect the ball in the 4th quarter. Tomlin's going to be like, no, thank you, sir. Russ, get in there, bro. I don't.
That Aiden Hutchinson sack to end, the Bears run and the Lions got that big win. That second game, that Aiden Hutchinson sack was everything that's wrong with Justin Fields. Like he played great in that game. You go back and watch that game. Fields played great, and then you just did not see or sense Hutchinson. And that's the thing is like the guys that takes a ton of sacks, are relatively. Sacks are arguably just as negative in terms of, EPA and your expectation to score points as turnovers. And Fields not only is turnover prone, he's extremely sack prone. Wilson is too. Ironically, Wilson's been very, very sack prone. But he's not even close to Fields. I mean, Fields' sack rate is otherworldly. All right, we're almost back on the clock here. We've got 2 quarterbacks potentially lining up here. With Purdy, with McCaffrey, I don't absolutely love Purdy and McCaffrey. They're definitely not negatively correlated, but they're not great together, and we're gonna miss that.
That's a great pairing for something like the Eliminator, where capture all the touchdowns in San Francisco.
I don't love it for tournaments like this, but for the Eliminator, that's a great call. Yeah, go ahead, Thomas.
Justin Herbert, maybe Greg Roman lets him run
with Palmer.
Yeah,
you could try it with Palmer.
That's what I was gonna. I mean, it's the longest.
Or do we take the correlation we already have here and get another back? Spears and Edwards are pretty sexy.
Yeah, I would probably go Lawrence and Edwards.
All right,
interesting.
Let's vacuum here.
Yeah, I was leaning that way too, Mark. I do like your thought though. I've been stacking up some Herbert late, but Lawrence with Ingram is just like.
It's true. Ingram's
you're right. So high, man. Ingram's
it would
high.
Be nice if Ingram can hit that touchdown ceiling, and that's on Lawrence. You know what I mean? Like, just imagine if that man scored 3 more touchdowns than he did last year. The numbers would just be even more unbelievable.
Don't Google Trevor Lawrence's career touchdown rate. Just don't.
I know.
It'll make you throw up.
Woefully bad. You don't gotta tell me. I'm the one on Dynasty Points throwing haymakers at Jacob every Tuesday night because he loves Lawrence, and I'm out there just throwing haymakers at him left and right. Don't worry about Gabe Davis this year, Graham. You guys are going to be just fine.
God. Yeah, hey, at least we got Brian Thomas to run clear outs. Gabe. I was saying earlier this week, Gabe and Brian Thomas are going to set all-time mileage records for cardio in the NFL season.
They didn't want 1 Jalen Guyton. They wanted 2 Jalen Guytons.
Yeah, Brian Thomas's upside is sick, I think, but man, his floor
Yeah, he is.
a little
But it's
scary.
Kirk, baby.
Yeah.
Kirk. That's again
Kirk and Ingram.
back-to-back years is the Kirk is the receiver, and then
Well,
Ingram for sure.
Kirk like broke his balls during that one game, but before
Oh
that,
yeah, I remember
he was
that.
gonna go off. He was gonna go off in that game. He had like a 40-yarder, then he broke his balls. But man, Kirk and Ingram both ran cold in the touchdown department, especially based on volume. But then it's like Trevor Lawrence's career touchdown rate is like 3.3%, and it's like, oh, okay,
That's why.
yeah, okay. If we run hot though, Jags run hot, and Lawrence throws for like a 4.5% touchdown rate. Let's go.
He's good for like a 3-game stretch that makes everyone on Twitter is like, remember when y'all said Trevor Lawrence was bad?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, 4 weeks later, we're waiting for that next hit of dopamine so we can see that tweet one more time.
Dude, Lawrence has been living off that Ravens comeback from the middle of the 22 season for a long time, man.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I will say a couple of things. Like, one of the reasons I like ETN so much, I've got ETN well ahead of the markets. His volume is so freaking good, dude. Like, so locked in.
3-4 turn is insane.
Yeah, I've been taking him in the mid-third too. Like you were saying, we want to talk about another running back that has some slack in ADP. I think once people figure out ETN's role is going to be insane, bro. Tank Bigsby got benched for Dearness Johnson last year.
Yeah,
there's no guarantee Bigsby's there too. Like,
yeah,
ETN's such a strong bet, but Lawrence dealt with a ton of injuries to close out last season. He had 3 separate injuries. If you want to make a bull case for the Jags, really falling off last year, it was Lawrence's injuries. I think ETN was maybe concealing an injury too. There's a reason to buy a little bit of this dip on Jags, because there was no Lawrence was getting steamed up. Jag stacks were getting steamed up last year.
Yeah,
not nearly to the same effect this year. Mark, are there any like low key stacks? I know you brought up Roman Wilson, but are there any like low key team stacks that you're you're finding yourself drafting a little bit more often? Give us one here.
Yeah, the Titans, man.
Yeah,
Titans.
Like that. It's too easy.
Yeah, baby.
It's too easy. Like Brian Callahan coming into town. They have Holtz, who's coming in offensive coordinator. Fun fact: those guys were high school teammates. I mean, Brian Callahan was a quarterback, and Holtz was his wide receiver.
No kidding! Wow.
Yeah, I found that interesting nugget. It's a little bit of bar trivia for you. It means absolutely nothing outside of that. But
bro, that's our entire jobs. Like useless fantasy football information. Like definitely win you some. We got to set up a fantasy Jeopardy. That'd be really fun.
That'd be awesome.
Like fantasy Jeopardy one season.
Yeah, we could probably get Aaron Rodgers to host it too.
Oh, now we're talking.
I wouldn't be allowed on.
Okay, it would turn into the roast of Aaron Rodgers, but
oh, dude, can you imagine after seeing the Tom Brady one, what Aaron Rodgers would be? Oh
I haven't watched it yet.
That was pretty good. That's pretty good.
I've heard it's great.
Pretty good.
Yeah, but I'm with you on Titans, man. Levis is going in like 175. I've got him.
Yeah.
I inject it. Give me all that high T quarterback play.
Yeah. Look what I went on Twitter, I think earlier today, and I said, like, I think it was in response to Treylon Burks' coach speak that dropped today. Is like, oh, he ran this many yards and they were going to run him all over. I was like, cool. Do you guys realize that amount of yards equates to 2 miles? Like, good job. You ran 2 miles in practice. You crushed it, man. This is great. But it's like the last chance until September that we're going to get like an actual coach's or an actual NFL team's true intentions was the NFL draft.
Yeah.
And that's before that was free agency. So like, what did the Titans do? They brought in as many pieces as possible to surround Will Levis, give him every chance to succeed this year.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they spent a ton of money. That's for sure to do it. All right, we're back up here. Is it Uncle Rico time at the top here? I don't really. It's either him or Dante.
We took Cup, and Stafford is kind of looking at us now.
Yeah, true. I know. I'm gonna wait on Baker to Deshaun. Get one of those two.
Okay.
Here at 146, I'll go Rico. We'll get the 5th back. Uncle
really
Rico
like
running
Wick
over them mountains
on the way back. Really like Wicks on the way back.
Yeah,
but we need one of these two. Yeah, damn.
Did he have Evans? He did have Evans. Okay.
At least that one makes sense. Snipes.
I don't absolutely love taking Deshaun Watson ahead of ADP here.
No, don't. take a wide receiver. I'm
Yeah.
team scroll down, honestly, at this point.
Roman Wilson.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've been doing. I mean,
He knew.
Full
yeah,
team
He
stack.
picked it up.
Full
that's what that
team stack.
yeah, that backs us into Russ a little bit later.
All right. Well, we're gonna hope Watson falls through, and we'll go with a 3 quarterback and 2 tight end build.
I dig it.
That. Yeah, I it's quarterbacks are almost like a means to an end with stacks to me. There's just Hurts, Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, obviously Richardson too. You can lump him in that group. They just have so much standalone upside. You don't have to go nuts with stacks, but quarterback is so deep this year. And in almost every draft, you're going to get one of these guys. Now in this draft, we've got all 3 falling here between Cousins, Stafford, and Rodgers. In every draft I've done, one of those 3 has fallen, and it's sometimes it's even 2. So if you've got London and Pitts, you take Kupp and Nakua early, take Garrett Wilson early. Like one of these 3 guys is probably going to fall well past ADP, and it's just so easy to stack up these guys because there's 25, 26 quarterbacks to feel pretty good about.
You know what I've absolutely loved is seeing Dak Prescott just fall to the 9th round. It's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I know I've been scooping up some Dak and Ferguson stacks or Dak Ferguson Cooks, kind of cheap Cowboy stacks. If I don't have Lamb, I like doing that quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Jordan Love, by the way, Packers, no one knows who to draft, besides Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
But Jordan Love is very, very easy to get 2 of his guys. Like you can get Love at 88, 89, 90. Little past ADP, you can get Wicks and Dubs double stacks. You can add a tight end to that with Musgrave or Kraft. Packer stacks are really easy to back into, and I think Love would probably be going a little earlier if he had receivers that we felt great stacking him with.
Yeah, 100%.
He'd be going a little earlier. I don't think there's too much slack in his ADP, but yeah, man, I've been backing into some Packer stacks too. Just taking Jordan Love naked in the 8th, and then just rolling from there and getting Wicks, getting Dubs, Musgrave, Kraft, all these guys.
Bo Melton, let's go.
Yes,
Bo Melton, 18th round. That's
go.
Hanson's boy. Hanson's tight with Bo Melton's dad. Apparently,
no kidding.
Yeah. Bo Melton and Melton is at Rutgers, but yeah.
Wicks is definitely the dude.
Man, he's super underrated.
Oh yeah,
he's a first down per route run god, like Ryan Heath would say. He's just all about him.
Yeah. Well, Mark, where are you at on Packers receivers, real quick? Like, do you have a strong take on any of these guys? Like, Christian Watson's the one I'm a little lower on than ADP. I've Reed a little ahead of ADP, Wicks a little ahead of ADP, and Dubs too, but Watson's like the one guy I'm a little lower on.
I honestly haven't been drafting a ton of the Packers up until now.
Yeah.
I mean, they have 6 guys that could feasibly see like we're talking about Bo Melton. He's like the wide receiver 6 on the team, right? But like they legit have like 6 guys that could be something this season. And while that is good to lean into that now, like if you picture the whole draft cycle, it's less beneficial to us to accept that additional variance in a snapshot contest like this, the puppy, as compared to a contest like the BBM that's going to be open the entire rest of the off season, because the most uncertainty that we're going to get, the most variance that we're going to get at any point is right now, or as soon as the contest opens, like these first 2 to 4 weeks. So leaning into the additional variance of the uncertainties, like we talked about with the running backs, like Zach Moss and Jonathan Brooks, is most beneficial to do now. The problem with me is I see higher upside situations currently than the Packers. So we talked about the Titans. We talked about some like Roman Wilson stuff. So I've just kind of been hammering other spots, but I'm not going to like argue against the Packers. I mean, you see the Packers stuff behind me here. I'm a Pack fan. It's just that like legit, they have 6 guys who could like be above average, like NFL wide receivers in this system. I mean, like, I'm not gonna say Bo Melton is an above average wide receiver, but like he performed when he had the chance last season, and you just get these guys on the field, and in this system, like they're able to perform.
No, it makes sense. I've been one of the main reasons I've been doing it is, I'm drafting a ton of receivers early. 4 or 5 receivers early, and to add one of these guys, with Love plus Dubs and Wicks and any of these guys that suit. Oh, we get cucked on Watson too.
Classic.
Womp.
Come on.
Yeah, it gets kind of gross here. We have Wilson in our back pocket.
Yeah. This is the part of the draft where I don't really play much into ADP or my own ranks. I'm scrolling down guys we'll save them, honestly. Probably get sniped if I mention them. Yeah, draft whoever you want. It's cool.
I'm gonna take Hunter Henry as our tight end too.
There we go.
Yeah, that's
we'll
true.
That's true. Maybe get May. I'm not crazy about that. If past
Dear
ADP
God,
here.
no. Yeah, don't do that. No, don't do that.
Yeah, we're not doing that here.
Hit the wide receiver tab for me.
Yeah, go Corley. Not Michael Wilson. I will.
No,
we're not doing Michael Wilson. That ADP
no.
makes
Yeah,
God,
this is just gross.
I'm gonna throw Corley in there.
That's fine for our purposes here.
Yeah.
No love for Vidal?
I don't. So I have a lot to say.
He's gotten steamed like crazy.
I have a lot to say about the running back position. Right now, I can shelve it, or we can get into it if you want.
No, we got a ways to go now.
I wanted to. That's what I wanted to bring up because I'm leaning in on this uncertainty. Part of the reason I'm drafting so many receivers early is because it is so freaking deep at running back. But Mark, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I went on for about a half an hour about the theoretics behind the running back position over on 1 Week Season's Best Ball Plus. On Wednesday, we made that open to the public, so that's on the 1 Week Season free podcast feed. Just search 1 Week Season. You can listen to the whole spiel. I'll give you the 30-second version. If we are projecting these running backs, who we know the running back position has the highest magnitude of ADP movements. So we're drafting Jonathan Brooks in the 9th because we're projecting hey, he's going to be a 6th rounder or a 5th rounder in August, right? That's why we're drafting him. And that's why we're then building him into hero running back rosters as the 2nd running back or taking him as the 1st running back on a roster. You're shooting yourself in the foot if you're then taking 6 or 7 running backs on a roster right now because of that uncertainty. So you can't, it's leveraging variance and harnessing it in your favor and also going the other way with it by drafting 6 or 7 running backs and saying, I'm projecting this guy to move to the 5th round and giving me essentially 2 5th-round picks right now, but I'm also going to hamstring the upside for the rest of my roster by taking 6, 7 running backs. So if you're drafting now, and that's a very, very common mistake that I see drafters making now, is they're there's so much uncertainty at running back, I'll just take 7 of them. There's got to be 2 that are bound to see a higher or a hit rate that is higher than 8.33%. But you realize that now we're trying to beat infinity amount of teams in these massive contests, that there's bound to be a team where they have 5 of the right running backs or 4 of the right running backs. So you can't harness leverage in your favor and generate expected value and also go the other way with it because it's canceling each other out. So we know, and why is that? Because we know what the mathematically proven optimal roster construction is, which is either 2 or 3 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 8 wide receivers, and 2 or 3 tight ends. Those are the mathematically optimal roster constructions. Sorry, my daughter's outside. You'll probably hear her.
She agrees. 2583.
Yeah.
Draft every team 2583. She knows what's up.
So, the theoretical answer to that is any deviation from mathematically optimal roster construction is going to generate a dip in expected value. We can make those plays now because we're in this high variance window, but we can't be making those deviations and trying to harness that variance in our favor because the EV cancels out. So you're making a mistake by deviating from optimal roster construction, which can become an exploitation on the field if you're not sacrificing or not going the other way with the variance. So it's a lot of theoretics in there, but if you're going to draft mega zero running back, I call it now, where you're waiting until the 9th, 10th, 11th round to draft your first running back, don't take 6 or 7 of them. Take 5. take 4. Go harness the variance in your favor, as opposed to like trying to do that and then also shying away from it and going the other way.
I love that. And I especially love it this year because I think after basically right now, I think rounds 14, 15, all of these RB2, 3 situations, like for most of these teams, I mean, I've got Deontay Foreman a lot higher than ADP. I've got, Audric Estime and Jalil McLaughlin like right at ADP. Like we really don't know a lot of these kind of RB2, 3 situations. So I'm with you. Like get your 5 in the first, especially even if you're going 0 RB, get your 5 from rounds 9 to 14, 15, and then just turn it off because this range right here, like sure, like one of these backs could absolutely hit. We'll take a. I'm not crazy about Drake May, but
there's at least some correlation going on.
Yeah, he's fine here, and we'll take Wilson. We could wait and take Wilson last pick, 18th, I think. Did anybody stick out here? I'm going to sort by ADP here. Mark and Thomas. Anybody?
So it's got to be wide receiver based on that discussion that we just had about like optimal.
Yeah, it died though.
So we can take a guy like Jalen Tolbert. We can take a guy like A.T. Perry. I'm okay taking a Greg Dortch on this type of build.
Let's take Wilson here. We'll secure the Stees.
That's what I think the answer is.
And then we'll take a receiver in last round.
Not signed, but Zay
Boyd.
This is just a big long flat tier here.
Yeah.
No, everything you made sense in terms of theory makes perfect sense, Mark. But it's also just I think it's compounded by this season because there's 13, 14 teams by my count where we really don't know who their 2 and 3 running back is right now. And it's I really like just taking a whole shotgun, kind of like what we did with this team. We have 4 picks from 95 to 143 on 4 backs. I have been drafting the majority of my teams this way. Either I get one anchor like McCaffrey, and I love ETN, I love Pacheco at cost. Get one of those guys and then just shotgun rounds 9 through 14. Yeah, just love that, especially because receivers dead. I love getting one of these tight ends in the first 6, 7 rounds to get an anchor there. Quarterbacks deep. I feel good about being able to stack late, like we did with this team. We got 3 guys past 115 ADP, and we've got 3 stacks. Not the sexiest stacks of all time.
Yeah, but I will say one of the biggest boosts that you can do to boost expected value in this and DFS is to stack your quarterback and tight end. Because
so much touchdown upside.
Those are the 2 positions where their fantasy value is most correlated to touchdowns. Yeah. It's quarterback and it's tight end. Like I did a study 2 years ago that tried to find the correlative function between touchdowns and fantasy production. And I went into it thinking tight end was going to be number 1. I went into it thinking that running backs was going to be number 2, and quarterback was the most correlated to touchdown or to fantasy production by far. And tight end is number 2. So by stacking your quarterback and tight end, you are double dipping on those points. Use that in DFS, use that in best ball. And we did that on this roster, I think twice.
No, we did. Yeah, we do. We've got May and Henry, and we've got Lawrence and Ingram. It'll be really fun when Evan Ingram scores 3 touchdowns this year. But hey, at least we got Hunter Henry who actually scores touchdowns.
We'll have them all.
Well, he did 2 years ago.
Yeah, fair enough. I found the same thing. I was looking at this last summer, and I basically went on this whole probably 2,000 word spiel in this tight end article I wrote, like how tight ends live and die by touchdowns.
Yeah,
and there's just a whole lot of truth to that. There's very few guys like I think Trey McBride could be one this year where he catches 95 balls for 1,100 yards, but only scores 4 touchdowns. Those guys are a dime a dozen. TJ Hawkinson has that relative type of upside too, but there's just very few tight ends who get insane amount of targets to the point where their volume overcomes their touchdowns. And you look at the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, the guys that don't just get the insane volume, it usually just comes down to how many touchdowns they scored. And pairing those 2 together with a quarterback, marrying that idea together, just makes perfect logical sense. And it cross team to team, it just makes correlative sense as well. All right, keep doing that. Last round pick. You mentioned Jalen Tolbert. I was hammering him until there was some news that Zay Jones might sign there.
Yeah.
I was drafting a ton of Tolbert early. I've kind of pulled back. I especially like it when I get like Rico and Zeke, just 2 Cowboys guys. But Tolbert is gone. We do have some dusty Tyler Boyd and Zay Jones. We've got Kendrick Bourne to pair with Drake May. If we wanted to go that way. Bourne's coming off the ACL. They did just draft 2 receivers. I'm not in love with it.
Yeah.
I don't hate Dortch. Like, I really don't.
Yeah.
I think he's the second best receiver they have.
I mean, the metrics say he is.
Yeah, every single year we're wanting Greg Dortch to get like a 75% route share.
Just
Finally,
please.
This might be the year. Actually, no. What was I saying? Tolbert's still there. Okay, all right. We still take him.
Yeah, this is shot taken territory. So
yeah, I like A.T.
looking for
Perry
spike
too.
weeks.
You mentioned Perry as well. You know, he's going to be their boundary X receiver this year. I don't think.
Yeah, so
but he's going to be on the field.
I loved his profile coming out of college, actually. And then he got hurt early in the season, and he didn't play until like week 9 last year. Yeah, it's like I posed the question on Twitter. We can pick while I'm talking, but I posed the question on Twitter like 2 days ago. I was like, what if A.T. Perry is the 85% route participation wide receiver over Rashid Shaheed? Like, that is that could happen this season. This is the first year in New Orleans since I was in diapers where Pete Carmichael is not in town, right? Like, so I don't know. Like, we don't know. We don't really know what's going on in New Orleans. The new staff could favor an X-type wide receiver, a big body position type guy. And that's most definitely A.T. Perry. That is not Rashid Shaheed. So, like, what if Shaheed is playing a standard, like, slot snap rate of 60%, 62%?
All right, I'm going to make a note of this, Mark, because now I'm going to go back and look when Perry got on the field to see what their splits were in 12. Because if Perry played over Shaheed in 2 tight end sets last year, then you're right. He's just going to play on their 2 tight end sets this year.
Yeah,
I love that call. Yeah, I've been sprinkling in Perry, sprinkling in Tolbert, sprinkling in Dortch. It's a gross receiver range. We like Josh Reynolds a little bit too. They did just draft Troy Franklin. But drafting these kind of like rotational 3s and 4s, all of those guys ADP could explode. Like if the Cowboys don't draft or they don't actually sign Zay Jones and they don't, bring in another body. I mean, Tolbert will go from 18th round probably to 15th, 16th round this summer.
Yeah.
So that's the way you got to be thinking through these late round receivers, I think, at this point.
There is a theoretical answer. Like I've gone through, like, do you pick your ponies or do you like shotgun approach and get exposure? The theoretical answer, I think, is to get more exposure on more guys in the late like last 2 rounds, the undrafted guys. But if you want to like single out like the 4 guys that we talked about, or you have like your handful of guys that you're rotating through 18th round picks, just realize that like that's just going to increase your variance across your portfolio. So if you're okay with that, if you're okay with like having more shots on goal for like a title because your 18th rounder is hitting at a higher frequency, you have to also understand that like you could just have a lot of your portfolio be dead in the water.
Yep. Yeah, that's I learned that probably my first year. I think I took like maybe 15% like Darius Slayton in the last round. And just like that 15% just killed me, that's a spot where, in theory, I felt like I was getting good value, but Slayton just never turns out. And then, I'm with you. I've been trying to basically I have like a Rolodex, like 6 to 8 receivers where I'm trying to, rotate those guys through.
Yeah.
Good draft, fellas. Absolutely fantastic draft. We got Christian McCaffrey at the 2 spot, then just went nuts on receivers. We got Adams, Collins, Pickens, Cooper, Godwin, Roman Wilson, Malachi Corley, and Jalen Tolbert. Got a little Jags, Patriots, Steez stack. So well done all around. Mark, you are doing like nearly daily shows at OWS, aren't you?
5 a week, man.
5 a week now.
That's
Go check them
crazy.
out on the OWS. You can check out their best ball platform. I know Mark's got some free stuff over on the OWS YouTube channel, so make sure you hit him up over there. We'll be back all summer, ripping drafts. Next week it'll probably be a BBM because the puppy will be closed. I'm going to try and get as many teams as I can. I've only got 4 teams in right now, so I got some drafting to do. Everybody else, you got drafting to do as well. Don't forget to use code FANTASYPTS. Get yourself a $60 standard subscription for $5. Use code FANTASYPTS and you'll get up to $250 matched on Underdog with your first deposit. especially if you're in Michigan. Go hit the Underdog streets, and we will see you there. For Mark, for Thomas, I'm Graham. Catch you guys next week. Good luck.